Hello everyone and welcome to the August project, and this time some boats. We haven't done boats for a little bit, so I thought, well, boats is a favourite subject of mine, so I thought we'd do boats again, but this time from an unusual angle. This is my completed painting, and we're looking down on a group of boats from the quayside. I'll show you in a minute the source photos, which I'm going to share on this posting. But this is a good exercise for painting loose. Notice all these single brush marks really that were done with a large mop brush with a good edge to it. So it's good practice of trying to paint more loosely. It's also a practice of doing a graded or graduated wash. Always not sure what the correct terminology is, but starting from the top down to the bottom here, the actual water, notice it's sort of a sort of greenish hue to it, and then we're coming a little bit bluer down towards the bottom, or you could start the other way. It could be blue coming down to green, or light coming down to dark. The light's coming from in front of us, so slightly to the left, so it could be light there coming down into dark, so up to you. And also good from a point of view of different techniques in water, some other techniques in watercolor, a bit of heavier paint, thicker paint for doing the darks here. Good exercise in the range of values, so look at the light that we want to try and get into the painting compared to some of the darker areas. Also good exercise, I think, in composition. I thought this scene worked quite well with this sort of arc, this sort of fan of boat shapes, sort of almost abstract, geometric in a way, and then these sort of the crisscross of the ropes here, tethering the boats to the quayside. Okay, so that's the I'll come back to that in a minute. So let's go to look at, now I've got a couple of photos that I'll include with this post, so two options on doing this boat scene. Now this one I think is, well, let me actually go to the one that I chose. So this is my source photo. This is in the coastal city of Livorno in Italy, and so there's these four boats. I've sort of angled them a little bit more to suit the composition, and I've included more of this boat here, so I've got more of the sea in the top portion of the scene, but I've got the shadows coming the same way. I've tried to think of, there's lots of little details here in the boats. Look at all these railings and the structures on the ends of the boats here. I guess these little ladders or something, and then the engines and these coverings for the steering and access to the engine room or whatever. So lots of objects, but things to just trying to simplify. Remember to, on any of these, you try and include the fenders here. Lots of fenders to include. They often make a boat scene more realistic. So here's the graded wash I was talking about. So here it's quite light, and then it goes a little bit darker, but you can't go too dark because you want to make sure you can go darker still for the reflections of the boat. So just be a bit careful not going too dark, so you've still got a bit of contrast there, a bit of impact with the reflection and the value of the reflection compared to the sea. I did the ropes with a small brush and white paint straight out the tube, nice point to the brush, and then in one line doing these brush strokes. So yeah, that's one option. And then another option, I go back to this, I think it's slightly trickier, this one, in that it's often difficult to, I mean, these blues, you've got to be a bit careful with not going too dark or well, yeah, too dark, because you've got to allow for a darker blue in the shadows there of these boats. A lot more tricky as regards the equipment on top of the boats, you know, these oars, boxes and things inside there. But we've got a similar, a sort of similar composition. A row of boats, we're looking down on them from a height, and we've got these nice patterns of these ropes tethering them in as well. Still a chance to do a graded wash, quite dark in the top left corner there, and then coming light out towards the right hand side there. So the sun in this photograph is coming from the top right, so we've got light here, shade, light, shade in the boat. So you might miss out that boat there. Imagine that boat's not there. So 1, 2, 3, 4 boats. A little bit of a mast structure on that one. You may or may not keep that in. Yep, so let's go back to mine. What else can I say? So try and keep it loose. Just think of shapes. The sequence I did this was it's actually quite simple, this one. So after doing the initial drawing, doing the wash of the water, and then I went in with the lighter blue shading of the boats, just thinking about random patterns, not trying to concentrate too much. A medium-sized mop brush, as I say, with a very good edge. You get these nice hard edges there, do you see? And so that all light blue all the way over, and then let that dry, and then I went in with the darker shadows, the darker elements, the engines, the darker bit underneath the canopy here and on this right hand boat, and then the shadows, sorry, the reflection as well after that. So starting from the edge of the boat, going down into the sea, a little bit darker in places, as well as trying to make it all one value. So 1, 2, 3, 4 boats with the reflections. When that was dry, totally dry, I then did the ropes, as I say, just with a small brush, thin brush, white paint straight out of the tube. Also, it's a good practice when we're doing the graded wash. A very good practice of negative painting, so a bit of careful painting around these shapes. So, and don't worry if you leave little bits out, as I did here. You know, that could be anything. It could be the sunlight just glistening on the surface of the water. Don't worry about it too much. These lots of little accidental patches just left there, doesn't matter. Particularly in the top left corner, because that's where the light's coming from. So you might want to try doing a few, hold the brush at an angle on rough paper. You might get some of these little marks appearing. So negative painting around these shapes, around the ends of the boats here, and some of the fenders as well. But yeah, just try and keep it loose. So I hope you have a little bit of fun doing that. So 2 options. Option 1, this is actually a Spanish, some Spanish boats here, and Italian boats. So Spain, Italy. Doesn't matter, but similar scenes on both. As always, please email me timothywilmot@gmail.com. It's always easier that way for me to reply to you with my video critique for you. By all means, post it up on Patreon as well for other people to have a look and throw in their 2 cents worth. Let's get a little bit of a dialogue going on people's submissions. No problem with that at all. I'll chip in if I can do now and again if I've got the time to do that. But I hope you like that. Any suggestions for future projects, please let me know. Most of you will have gathered by now the sort of scenes I do: landscapes, city scenes, urban scenes, harbour scenes, well, seascapes. So yeah, if you've got any other ideas of anything that you're struggling with, or something that you think would be quite interesting to the community, our little community, our little band that we've got going up on Patreon, please let me know. So thanks very much, and I look forward to seeing your efforts. Bye for now.